This video is a comparison between the Epson L3256 and the HP 415 inkjet printer. And I've not called it a review because I think for a review you need to go quite deep technically. This is just my personal experience and opinions. I have another printer. I have a Brother laser printer. And this is really good if you've got big black and white documents. It's quite fast. The speed is about 20 pages per minute, whereas with the HP, it depends what you're printing, but with a black and white document, you should expect around 8 pages per minute. And the Epson is a little bit faster at about 10 pages per minute. The inkjet printers are colour, of course, and they're extremely useful. I have kids who sometimes need prints for school. I sometimes do colour prints. You can use them for scanning. You can scan images into a computer, but I have a standalone Epson scanner which I use for that, so I don't actually use these for scanning. And what's really useful is their copying capability. I'm an expat in Thailand, and Thailand is very bureaucratic. And whenever I do anything, I need lots of copies, and it's just not convenient going to copy shops. And if I need colour copies, they're actually very expensive to get done in shops, which is quite unjustified. It costs almost $1 for one colour copy, and here I can do them at home a lot cheaper than that. First, I'll talk about footprint. And with my Brother laser printer, the paper goes in at the front and comes out of the front. So the front to back footprint is quite narrow. With the inkjet printers, the paper goes in at the back and comes out of the front. So that back to front distance is a lot more. I actually wanted to put one of these printers onto this same shelf as the laser printer. There's just not enough room, so I've had to put it onto the desk. And because of the inkjet design, with the ink cartridges for the HP being on the side, and with the Epson they're at the front, the HP printer is a bit wider than the Epson. So those are things that you need to take into consideration depending on where you want to place the printer. The buttons on both inkjet printers are fairly similar. There's an on-off button. With the Epson, it glows around the button to show you it's on. With the HP, there's a separate light to show that it's on. There are status indicators for Wi-Fi and Wi-Fi Direct. There's a Wi-Fi button to help with the Wi-Fi setup, which I haven't actually had to use yet. This is network status, so if you have a problem with the network, you can hold this button for 7 seconds and it will give you a printout of the network status to try to help you diagnose any problems. These are the copy buttons, black and white and colour. This is the stop button if you want to stop an operation, and there are lights for low ink and out of paper. The Epson doesn't have a display, whereas the HP does. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. There are a couple of nice things with the HP that are slightly problematic with the Epson. If I want to copy one page from a book or a magazine, I put the book or magazine into the printer, and then this part of the book now obscures the buttons. So I have to lift this up to get to the copy buttons, which isn't ideal. Because of its design, that isn't a problem with the HP. I put the book or magazine inside the printer and I still have access to the copy buttons because they're on the side. That's much better. As I mentioned before, the HP has a little display, and that's really useful. If I want one copy, I just press one of these buttons once. This button is for black and white copies and this button is for colour copies. If I want 2 copies, I press the button twice, and what I see on the display is the number of copies that I've asked for. So if I press it 4 times, I see a 4. It works the same way with the Epson, but there's no display. So I have to remember how many times I've pressed the button, or count. So if I want 10 copies, I have to hit the black and white or colour button 10 times, but there's no confirmation as to how many times I press a button because there's no display. So that's another advantage for the HP. Let's now talk about Wi-Fi setup, and I would definitely advise getting a Wi-Fi model. I think with both of these models you can buy cheaper versions that don't have Wi-Fi, but then you can only use them with one computer with a wired connection. With the Wi-Fi versions, they can be located anywhere, which is convenient, and they can be used by any computer that has a Wi-Fi connection. And you can also print them using a mobile phone, so that's really, really useful, having Wi-Fi. Now, the HP one, it was quite a long time ago that I set it up, but it wasn't as easy as I would have liked. And I think the problem is that my computer is connected to the network by Ethernet. Ethernet's a lot faster than Wi-Fi, so I wanted the fastest connection possible. I think if the computer was connected by Wi-Fi, it would have been a lot easier. But what I ended up doing was bringing the printer into this room. It's not usually in this room, connecting it to the computer with a cable, and then I was able to set it up. It wasn't, really difficult, but it wasn't as easy as I would have liked. Now, the Epson, which I set up more recently, was a doddle. It was child's play. There's a smartphone app with the Epson, which connects to the printer by Bluetooth. And it just took me through step by step. It got me to load all the ink cartridges. Then it asked me to choose the correct Wi-Fi network, and then put in the password, and that was really, really easy. So regarding Wi-Fi setup, the winner here is the Epson. The final thing I'm going to talk about is print quality, and what I'm going to say is very favourable towards the Epson and not very favourable towards the HP. And I have to stress that, like I said earlier, this is not a review, this is just my personal experience. So it may be that it's just a problem with my own printer, and other people won't see the print quality problems that I've seen with the HP. On this particular test page, this is the test page for the HP. If we do a quick comparison with the Epson, it probably doesn't look too different. The HP maybe is a bit more saturated. But when you start looking a bit closer, let's go back to the HP, you'll see in this printing here, where it should be black, there are quite a lot of missing pixels. And this transition from black to white isn't particularly smooth. And there are some more missing pixels over here. Let's just go back to the Epson again. We can't see those missing pixels with the Epson, and this transition is a lot smoother. But if I show you another test page, it actually looks a lot worse. This is the standard Windows print test, and the Epson one looks fine. No problems at all. You can read everything and it's quite clear. If I switch over to the HP one, it looks pretty grim. You can see here where the date is. It's just all smudged. You can't even read that date. And up here, it's all smudged, and it looks a real mess. Now, I'll briefly describe the history with this printer. The original one I bought was a slightly different model. It looked the same, but it was a different model. And the print quality went bad, so I took it to the Epson repair centre. They told me that they could no longer get parts, so they were going to give me a brand new printer. That sounds great. If you've got a problem with your car, you take it in, and it said, "Oh, we can't get the parts, but we're going to give you a brand new car." You'd be really happy. So I accepted the new printer, but I think there was something behind that. So after a while, I started to get dissatisfied with the new printer. So I took it in, and they said, "Yeah, it's got two print heads. It's got a black one and a colour one, and the black one needs replacing." So they replaced the black print head, and the print quality was still bad. So I took it back. They said, okay, we'll replace both print heads. The black one's still under warranty, so that won't cost you anything. You have to pay for a colour one. So I did that. So it's had 2 new print heads about a month ago. And this is the quality of printing that I'm seeing. And when they said they would give me a new printer, it wasn't like a new printer in an unsealed box. I just had to take their word, it was a new printer. And what I think happened was that a customer was dissatisfied and took the printer back, and they couldn't fix it. And they actually gave that customer a new printer. And they had his old printer that they couldn't fix, which I needed to get rid of. So I think they just offloaded it on me. That's what I think happened personally. So when I talk about print quality and comparing them between these 2 printers, the Epson one is fantastic. The HP one is terrible, but it may not necessarily be the case with every printer. It may just be a case that I've got a bad machine. So let's just do a quick summary. And both printers are actually quite similar. The 3256 is white. If you want a black one, you can order a 3250. And I think those models are identical apart from the colour. Both printers use 4 ink cartridges, black, yellow, magenta and cyan. The ink is easily available and easy to fill up. And because of the design of the bottles, the ink doesn't spill. The initial setup was a bit easier with the Epson because of the Epson Smart app, but it wasn't too bad with the HP. The footprint on the Epson is a little bit smaller, but because of the design of the HP, it's better in some ways. You know, if you want to copy a book or a magazine, it doesn't cover up the control panel, and it's useful having the little digital display there. The one thing that makes me feel a little bit uncomfortable about this video is the print quality, because I don't know if the print quality problems that I've seen with the HP are general or just apply to my machine. You know, I've had quite a history of this machine, getting it fixed and being given a replacement. So my experience of poor print quality may not apply to other HP printers. Having both a laser printer and an inkjet printer is really useful, and the 2 different types of printer complement each other very well. Thank you for watching, and if you've got any questions, comments or other feedback, please leave them below.